everybody. So, it's only been a few weeks, but so much has happened. So first, a quick update. Okay, so as if you've been following along, as you know, I was evicted in March of last year, 2024, and at the time I was working, and then I was hospitalized in June of 2024, and I was on sick leave, and I got a letter while I was in the hospital saying that everybody was going to be laid off at the end of August. So I elected to stay on sick leave. And then when my sick leave part of EI ran out, then I was on unemployment. My unemployment ran out in June. Now, at the time, my entire family and I were kind of stuffed into one little motel room, which we were able to pay for between what I was bringing in, my nephew's check, tax returns, and what money we could raise. We had a GoFundMe last year, and through some generous support, we were able to stay. That helped us out a little bit, and then just the generosity of everybody we could cajole, and it's kind of miraculous we were able to stay in the motel as long as we were, but the money did run out. And so the money ran out a couple weeks ago, and we had to move out of the motel room. And at the time, my car was working. My poor car. But the brakes were kind of touchy, not very in good shape. And they were making a lot of clunking and dragging sounds, but I just couldn't afford to get it fixed. And so we were moving the last of our stuff, and my sister and my nephew got into a family shelter, but I wasn't allowed to join them because apparently, even though we're our family and we've lived together for many years, I just am not considered part of the family, so I wasn't allowed to stay with them. So I was sleeping in my car for 4 days. And then on the 5th day, my car threw up a transmission in the middle of King Street, and that was that. I couldn't sleep in my car anymore. So then I was able to get a place at sort of a transitional housing, and then through there, they were able to find me a place in the shelter. So I've been in the shelter for about a week and a half now. And the crazy part is I'm supposed to start a job on Monday, but if I don't have a place to work, I'm not going to be able to start my job, which I'm not really happy about. So that kind of, just to bring you up to date. By the way, for anybody that watches my Ella Gory Horror Stories channel and is interested in the life updates, I actually do have another channel. I'll put the link in the doobly-doo, and I've been doing little updates sort of chronicling just being homeless and what it's like to have to kind of get around without any money and without anything. But for now, I'm safe, and I'm grateful to the social, what am I looking for? The word I'm looking for, sort of the social agencies that have been able to help me. But I'm not happy to be where I am, obviously. There's this sort of cliche going around that most people are kind of one check away from this. And yeah, I spent my whole life working and trying to avoid this, and yet here I am, right? If I had known, I would have maybe would have done a few different things differently, but whatever. I don't know. I think part of me still has hope, though. On the day everything went sideways, I saw a random white feather on the bus, which is supposed to be lucky. Same day, I saw a monarch butterfly, which I take as a good sign because the butterflies represent change, and monarchs are so rare these days. I almost never see them, but I've seen one almost every day when I've been out. So I don't know if they're coming back, but this is the time of year they start flying south. And then I also saw a dragonfly that day, just in a completely random place at the storage locker. So those are 3 good signs. Something in the universe is telling me something. I don't know. There's part of me that could just curl up and not do anything, but I don't know. So, on to my review. Sorry to bore you with the life stuff. September is Hispanic Heritage Month, and so partly coincidentally, and just partly because I wanted to finish it up, I finally finished reading Signal to Noise by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. Now it's her first book, her first published novel. She's published 10 so far, which is fantastic. I've been following Silvia for pretty much all of this time on Facebook, and the book, and I'm proud of the success that she's had. You know, her books are really, they've got really nice covers, and I've heard really good things about the rest of her books. I haven't read anything else yet. I just haven't had a chance, but she's a really good writer. So Signal to Noise is kind of going right back to the beginning of her illustrious career. And so the book is about a woman named, she calls herself Meche, which is short for her nickname, because she doesn't like her full name, which is Mercedes. And we start in 2009, and this woman, her father has just passed away, so she has to go home from where she lives in Oslo, Norway. She has to go home to Mexico City to sort of deal with his estate and everything. So she goes and she sees her old childhood friends, and she's really not happy to see them. So of course you immediately have this question, like, what happened? And then half the story is told in flashbacks to 1988, when she was in high school. And she discovered that through music, she could cast spells and make things happen. And so the story goes back and forth between 1988, when Meche and her friends are experimenting with this power of music, and 2009, when she has to sort of tie up the loose ends that she left 20 years ago, and deal with her father's legacy, estate stuff. When somebody dies, there's a lot of stuff you got to deal with. So it was, I really enjoyed it. Now Meche is a little bit prickly, so she's not really a super likable character, but she's a relatable character. She's angry. She's frustrated with everything around her. Her friends, she's stronger willed than her friends, so her friends seem a bit weak, but then when they stand up to her, you kind of get why they do it. But what I enjoyed the most, and in some ways I wish there was maybe a little bit more of it, was the music choices were really cool. Which songs have what kinds of powers. So for example, Strange Days by the Doors, when she wants to cast a kind of an evil spell, or Whiter Shade of Pale when she wants to cast a love spell. And I think if anything, it's kind of a love letter to that time in your life when music is everything, as a teenager. And I think it really sort of captured the way that teenagers obsess over just the littlest things in music. And that's what makes music so wonderful when you're young. Yeah, and there's a lot of nostalgia for time and place. I've always enjoyed stories that really have that innate sense of time and place. Never having been to Mexico City, I've always wanted to go to Mexico. That's kind of on the bucket list, but it really captures just, I mean, we have all these stereotypes of different things, but it was a normal urban setting, and Meche is working class, and these kids are not, they're not rich, they're not living any kind of dream life on the beach or anything. They're just these normal working class kids, and they have family issues and all the little dramas, and it's very, I guess it's called magical realism. And then there's this sort of relatable, realistic setting, and then you have these moments of absolute wonder, and they figure they can do stuff. So quite an enjoyable read. I recommend that one. And then the other book that I got through was an audiobook, and it was the novelization of Harold and Maude by Colin Higgins. And now, again, I'm not affiliated with Chirp. Oh, by the way, Signal to Noise was I had also bought the audiobook. I think it was something like $2.99 over on Chirp, and I'm not affiliated with Chirp, but I absolutely love it. There's no monthly fee. They have deals every day. And if you are a new user to Chirp, I'm going to put the link down in the doobly-doo, and you can pick up Signal to Noise for $2 US. So it's a pretty good deal, I think. So back to Harold and Maude, which I picked up for, I think it was like $3.99 or something. Now, if anybody is familiar with the movie, I saw the movie many years ago. Great movie. It's about a young man. He's rich, but he is the definition of the idle rich. He doesn't do anything. He's not in school. He's not working. He's not, he likes performing grisly self-unalivings for his mother to discover. The first couple times it happens, she shrieks, and then after a while, it just is like, okay, get up. We've got something else to do. And she barely even notices. And he likes to attend funerals. And he meets this woman who also attends funerals. And she's going to turn 80 next week. And she is just this absolute little spitfire of joy, and she's always running around doing crazy things. And she starts off, he sees her drive away in a car, and it's the is it the vicar or the pastor or whatever, anyway, some church guy, deacon, I don't know, anyway, he's some church guy. It turns out it's his car. And so the next week they go to another funeral, and the deacon guy says, "Hey, I saw you drive away with my car." She says, "Oh, was that yours?" Like, just totally blasé about it. And he's like, "Yeah." "Well, you can find it, over there." She just tells him where she left it, because she just likes to run around and steal people's cars. And then she formally meets Harold, because they had chatted a little bit at the funeral, and then they formally meet when she steals his car. He drives a hearse, by the way. And it's just all of this quirky. I mean, she's, in a lot of ways, she's one of the prototypes for the manic pixie dream girl. But I was reading, it was TV Tropes, I don't know, somebody pointed out that she's an anomaly in that she has her own agency. She does these things not because of him, but because this is what she does. She has a life. She has an entire existence outside of the guy. Now, the manic pixie dream girl trope, if you're not familiar with it, is these stories, and there's so many of them, about a depressed guy who meets a woman who just, she's so quirky and lovely, and he falls in love with her, and, she brings him out of his depression. But she doesn't really have much other than being his muse, right? She doesn't, there's not a whole lot about her except for her relationship to him. And that's where Harold and Maude are different. I mean, if anything, she, if anything, Maude just has this life and Harold kind of falls into it rather than the other way around. So it's got a very bittersweet ending, but at the same time, it's kind of a perfect ending. And again, if you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. It's like, oh, what are you doing? And I didn't, when I bought it, I was like, is this a novelization or was the movie based on a novel? But I looked it up, and it is a novelization. Colin Higgins originally wrote Harold and Maude only as a screenplay. And since it's not attributed to anybody else, I'm going to assume Colin Higgins wrote the novelization, but I couldn't really find any information about it. And Colin Higgins, just as a little bit of background, he was a writer and Harold and Maude was his creative writing thesis, and he eventually got it made into a film. The film came out in 1971, and it wasn't, a huge hit, and it's very dark, but it kind of became like a cult classic. And Higgins eventually, sadly, he did pass away in 1988 of complications from AIDS. So there's that little story too. So there's always this sense of, playing around with the ideas of mortality and living life while you can, because it's short and there's so much grief and doom. But if you don't have the light and the joy to balance it, then your life is going to be pretty miserable, I guess. And also, like, there's something in Harold that he's sort of looking for that outside of himself, and it's like she teaches him that he has to find it inside of himself, because there's just too much to experience in life to be miserable. And he does walk away a kind of a better guy, playing the banjo that she gave him, and it's pretty cute. So it was an enjoyable listen. It was read by an older woman, but she has this kind of deep voice. I couldn't tell if it was a male or female for a long time until I looked up. Okay, the woman's name is Barbara. That's a woman. Okay. But it really, really suits the tone of the story. So those are the two things I got through in September. So sorry to ramble for so long, but I just wanted to touch base and let you know, yes, I'm still out here. I'm still making videos, making content, and I hope you're reading lots of horror. And yes, this month I was not reading horror. I was reading love stories, I guess, too, basically. Oh, and that's one thing I did forget to mention at Signal to Noise, is that at its very, very core, it is actually a love story. A weird love story, but still a love story. So a couple of love stories this month, and have hope, though. There's more horror coming. Halloween every October, so I'll be reading or trying to get through some more, lots of horror. I don't know. Anyway, you can see I'm a little distracted, obviously. There's a lot going on, so it'll probably be a few weeks till I come back and check in, but I am still out here, still kicking, and I hope you're reading lots of horror. Have a great day.